Peace and Pan-Africanism, brothers and sisters. Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism. Good Garvey Day. We thank the Most High for another great day. We thank the ancestors for walking with us. We thank the Loas, the Abusums, the Netters, the Orishas. We thank the Iyami. We thank the Egbe. We thank the spirit guides, the angels. We thank all of the positive spirits on the right for walking with us and being with us. This is Dr.UmarJohnson, Ifatunde, Oguntade, Minister of Education and Mental Health for all African people worldwide. It is Pan-Africanism or perish. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to dedicate today's Black Parent Teleconference to none other than the late, great ancestor, warrior, orator, Queen Mother Sojourner Truth, who was the first Black woman to actually make a living being a public speaker. Queen Mother Sojourner Truth. She was also the first Black woman to win a court case against a white man during slavery. She is also the first Black woman to have her bust, her statue of the upper portion of her body displayed in the Capitol building of the United States of America. Never forget Queen Mother Sojourner Truth, who passed away November the 26th, 1883. At the ripe old age of about 86, I want to say, right around that. Queen Mother Sojourner Truth, definitely an ancestor who was often overlooked. She had ran away from slavery before Harriet Tubman, and she was speaking against slavery before the great ancestor Frederick Douglass. So, parents, if you have any questions about your children, only about children, education and mental health, only about children. We're not discussing anything else at this time today. It's all about the babies. You can text 215-989-9858. You can text 215-989-9858. If you have a question, I will call you live. If I call you and you don't pick up, I may not be calling you again. So don't text unless you're going to be ready when you get the call. I can't say when you're going to get the call. I'm going to take them in order as much as I possibly can. 215-989-9858. I need your name, city, and state. If you do not text me your first name, it doesn't have to be your real name. City and state. Name, city, and state.
Hello?
Good Garvey Day to you, good sister. This is Dr. Umar. You are live on the Black Parent Teleconference. Your name and where you calling from, Queen?
Grand Rising, Dr. Umar. Thank you for taking my call.
No problem. Where are you based at?
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New York, upstate. All right. Talk to me, beautiful.
Okay. My question is, my oldest son is 18, but I'm really concerned about nieces and nephews. Their approach and as far as race, when I try to have, when myself and family members try to have conversations with them, about having a strong Black connection, talking about race issues, how do I respond? Their response is always, they're for everyone. The ages are, they're teenagers, to be honest with you, but we're really struggling with them, always basing everything on not race being first and being concerned with, they'll say they're concerned with righteousness. They're just concerned with everyone's issues. So that's kind of my struggle. Family members, we haven't been able to get through to them to help them understand. I'm concerned. Why are they so concerned about, they don't say like white race or Indians or Asians, but why do you think their concern is they're always saying we should be concerned about everyone else?
Good question, my sister. Unfortunately, most Black people are religious, and that's not the problem. But all major Black religions have conditioned us into believing that God wants us to be colorblind. I remember growing up in the Sunni Orthodox masjid. I was raised Sunni Orthodox Muslim here in North Philadelphia. And I remember seeing white Arabs married to black women, and I did not agree with it at all. But the Muslims had no problem with it because the Arab was a Muslim. See, the problem with religion, black religion, is taught in a manner that benefits the oppressor. Black religion is not taught in a manner that benefits the oppressed. We are the only people whose religions are not biased towards our best interests. We are the only ones whose religious leaders and religious institutions do not preach a black liberation theology. You can use the Quran for black liberation theology. I know, I've read the book many times. You can use the Bible to preach a black liberation theology, but the self-hatred of black people, the need to be accepted by white folks, the need for inclusion has built up around us and around our children a very dysfunctional social and psychological culture that teaches us God does not want us to prioritize ourselves. God does not want us to prioritize our issues. God does not want us to prioritize our political struggle and our economic struggle. We're the only people in this country, sister, who have to go one place to pray and another place to organize. Now that right there is a big problem. Why are black people the only people who have to go one place to pray and you got to go somewhere else to organize? European Jews can pray in the synagogue and they can organize in the synagogue. Chinese can pray in the Chinese church and they can organize in the Chinese church. The Arabs can pray in their masjid and they can organize in their masjid. But when it comes to black people, we're the only people whose political struggle is totally separate from their religion. That is a problem, because if your religion is from God, then God does not want you to be oppressed. God does not want you to be gentrified. God does not want you to be mass incarcerated. God does not want your children to be miseducated. If you have to leave church to talk about black people's problems, if you have to leave the masjid to talk about black people's problems, then your religion is not from God. Your religion is from the devil. And what we have to do, sister, is we have to be unapologetically African in our approach to our own issues. We got to let people know, even the Negroes in our families, the Negroes in our fraternities, the Negroes in our church, we have to tell them, I'm for black people first. I'm for black people first, because black people were God's first people. And you don't fix nothing in this world unless you fix it for black people, because we are the chosen people. We are God's first people. Never let nobody make you feel ashamed of putting your people first, because guess what? Everybody else does. Mexicans don't talk about nobody but Mexicans. Chinese don't advocate for nobody but Chinese. Arabs don't fight for nobody but Arabs. European Jews don't push the agenda for nobody but European Jews. So if black people are for everybody, if you are for everybody, if everybody is just as important to you as your own children, if everybody is just as important to you as your own people, as your own community, if everybody comes first, then black people automatically come last. See, when a black person tells you, I'm for everybody, I'm not just for black people, that's their way of really telling you, I don't care about black people. Because there's no way you can be for people who don't like you. There's no way you can be for people who can't stand you. There's no way you can be for people who have oppressed you and killed you and genocided you. There's no way you can be for them and be for yourself. So when you hear Negroes say, I'm for everybody, I'm for all people, I don't see color, that's their way of saying black people don't matter to me. Black people are irrelevant to me. I don't care about black people. Self-hatred, my sister. Self-hatred wears a lot of masks. Self-hatred wears a lot of masks. And one of the major masks that self-hatred wears is devotion to God. This colorblind devotion to God is nothing more than a scheme from self-hating Negroes to not serve the interests of their own people. So I would say to you, keep on telling the children right. Tell them the right way. Teach them the right way. Because although you might be outnumbered now, when they grow up, it might be what you taught them. It might be what you taught them that ends up ultimately taking root in their subconscious. See, at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we're going to have Freedom School for children who can't come to the school. So for children who can't be a regular student from 9 to 5, okay, we're going to have freedom schools where any black child can come to the school certain days, certain months, certain weeks, and get that education, get re-Africanization class. We're going to have re-Africanization class for children, and we're going to have re-Africanization class for the parents. We have to do this, my sister. Do not quit. Keep on going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Goddess. Be blessed.
You too.
All right. I have a question, but I can't talk on the phone. I'm at work. I would like to say thank you for your help with my son. He's doing better with his behavior. I asked for a behavior plan and constantly denied any vow. I buy my son books on the ancestors and even have him do projects on the ancestors, but he still does not seem interested. What can I do to motivate him? You need a behavior plan in the home. You need a behavior plan in the home, my sister, but I'm glad things are working out for my South Jersey sister. Gotta support the queens. Gotta support the queens. Okay. How much is the fee to be a vendor at the block party in September? My brother, we have not yet started taking vendor applications for the second annual FDMG festival on Saturday, September the 10th, my brother. You about 10 months too soon. We'll have that information soon, but you need to donate, because if you haven't donated to FDMG, you will not be vending. You will not be vending. You will not be vending. I have a serious question I've been wanting to ask. If Black Lives Matter, why is that black people always treat me like my life doesn't matter? Good question, but we're dealing with the children. If you are a parent and you have a question about your child, you need to text me 215-989-9858, your name and your city. Good morning. Let me see. Can we talk? I'm having trouble with my son finding friends that look like him. He struggles because of where we live. A lot of black kids that go to a school gangbang, so he turns to having white friends. You're going to have to find your son some friends. If your son or daughter lives in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I seriously question the safety of that in these days and times with all of the aggressive racism being directed at black people. If your son or daughter has trouble finding black friends, you have to go somewhere where they can find them. Take them to the hood. Take them to another community. You have to arrange play dates. Your child's self-esteem, your black child's self-concept, your black child's self-respect cannot suffer because you want to live around white people. Let me say this again. I'm talking to black parents. I'm talking to black parents. Let me say this again. Let me say this again. Your child's self-esteem, your child's racial consciousness, your child's self-respect should not be allowed to be damaged because you want to live around white people. Black parents, you need to think twice. You need to think twice before you move to a white neighborhood, especially with young children. It's one of the most psychologically damaging thing for a black parent to drop a black child in a white neighborhood, because they have to go to a white school and then they have to come home to white neighbors. That's not good. They have to go to a white school and then they have to come home to white neighbors. Y'all need to rethink this illusion of inclusion. Chasing white people is not beneficial to black children. You have to go out of your way to find your children some suitable playmates. You're going to have to inconvenience yourself because you inconvenienced your child. You're going to have to inconvenience yourself because you inconvenienced your child. You're going to have to inconvenience yourself because you inconvenienced your child. When and where is the event in Indianapolis? I don't have the details yet. Brianna, I was texting to call you, Queen, and you didn't answer the phone. My son has autism and ADHD. I need help with behavior in the public school. They give him candy all day to stay calm. He's not learning. 3 different schools. He's only 6. Brianna, I just called you to help you, but you didn't answer the phone. Okay. Good morning, Doc. I know today's conversation is about the children, but if you have time, would you be able to discuss a long-term plan I have? Maybe another time, my brother. We dealing with the babies. I'm having trouble with my son finding friends that look like him. I already hit that. Okay. It looks like we don't have a lot of parents this morning. I need an interview. We have 3 sons. They called him. He went to pick them up without my consent. My 26-year-old son left my youngest son at the school while it was closed, and the principal called him. They never picked him up, so they called DHS. I would have tried to reach the parent before I called DHS. Why do I feel the most fear around black Americans as a black woman? Because black people hate each other. So it looks like we don't have a lot of parents today because they're out buying this. We don't have a lot of parents today because they're out buying snow bunnies for their daughters. Christmas shopping is more important than saving our kids. So today it doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of parents who want to focus on solving their kids' problems. They want to go shopping today because after all, this is economic suicide season for Negroes. So what I'm going to do, since this is economic suicide season for Negroes,
Hello, how you doing?
Peace and love, sir. Where you calling from?
I'm from Carolina, South Carolina.
South Carolina. All right. Talk to me. You have an issue with your child or grandchild?
Yes, sir. I've got plenty of issues there. My first question to you is this. Particularly, I just left Prince George County, and you got black people that now runs the school district. So I can't understand why they got the poorest school system when we run the school system.
Okay. Number one, to be clear, they don't run it, sir. They manage it. There's a difference between being the slave master and the slave driver.
Yes, sir.
You see, the slave driver is employed by the slave master to control the slaves. So the black principal is a slave driver. The black superintendent is a slave driver. They are not the slave masters. They don't control anything. They simply carry it out. So even when you take a child from a school district that's ran by white people and all the teachers are white, you put them in a black school district with a black superintendent, black principal, black teacher, you might get the very same result because that school district is still controlled by white folks. They manage it. They control the policy. So all you did was switch out the color, but you didn't switch out the culture. And if you switch out the color, but you don't switch out the culture, you're going to get the same result.
That's true. That's true. We still got Uncle Tom and Calvin. Now, the other issue is black churches accept, or the big drive is to become a 501c. Once they become 501c and they take that federal money, they can no longer discriminate, or they have to follow the federal guideline. So is it worth them taking the federal money or trying to pin on tithes to run their church?
Well, the 501c3 in itself is not the problem. It's the fact that they want the funding that the 501c3 allows them to get. In other words, if they went 501c3 and they just stayed independent, they would be okay. But what happens is when they take that government funding, once you take that government funding, that nonprofit funding, you are now required to conduct your affairs a certain way. And the number one thing that they require is for you to be multicultural. And see, this is why we as black people can't never organize, because most places that black people own are multicultural. They are being funded by non-African sources. This is why you can't have a private black meeting. White folks can just walk right up in there and sit down. Why? Because the white folks know you are getting funding from the government. And because you are getting funding from the government, you cannot keep me out of this meeting. We don't have things that are private and independent. So when you take the money, you got to dance to the tune. And the hand that pays is the hand that rules. And we are so greedy for money that we will sell our souls for a grant. And the irony in the fact that we are so dependent on white funding comes from the fact that we have so much money that we have in our community where we should not have to depend on white folks. But black people would rather use their money for Christmas shopping, New Year's parties, Thanksgiving dinners, 4th of July cookouts. We are a people who are cursed when it comes to economic organization. We are not the least bit interested in using our money to liberate ourselves. A black entertainer will go to a strip club and spend $50,000 in a strip club when that $50,000 could have built a black preschool. That $50,000 could have been the down payment on a black community center. That's how we operate. And educated Negroes are no better. We take our money, we run to the suburbs. We go get a white girl. We do anything except the right thing with our money. And then we'll tell other black people, I can do what I want to do because this is my money. I would argue that it's not your money. I would argue that there would be no Jay-Z, no Kanye West, no Oprah, no LeBron if it wasn't for black folks who came before you, who fought and struggled to open up those doors, who fought and struggled to give you those opportunities. And these selfish, arrogant, narcissistic Negroes, not necessarily the ones I named, I'm just randomly naming rich blacks. I'm not necessarily indicting them. But what I'm saying is they are very selfish and narcissistic when it comes to, quote unquote, their money. But had it not been for a civil war where over 200,000 black people fought and many of them died, there would be no LeBron or no Oprah or no Jay-Z. You understand? If it wasn't for Dr. King and Medgar Evers and Malcolm and others, there would be none of that. So there's no such thing as my money because you are not solely responsible for earning your money. That money belongs to the community. But with that being said, I can't blame them for being selfish with their money because we as a people are also selfish with our money. We don't want to do anything for the community with our money. I mean, right now, look at what we're doing, brother. Right now, we are out there spending millions of dollars on junk. On junk, not books. We ain't buying no books. We out there buying sneakers and clothes and jeans and cell phones and video games. And then we got the nerve to say that we want to be free. We want racism to stop, but we don't want to do anything to stop it.
All right, well, I always believe that the internet is the great equalizer. And I'm beginning to get upset with how we're using the internet for ghetto fights. And even Facebook is now time posting up porno. And they're using African people to post up pornographic videos. But yet they won't post your video or let your video go viral. So how do we now use the internet to level the playing field and go from consumers to producers?
It's going to be tough because black people have to go from a servant consciousness to a master consciousness. You understand? We have been so caught up into trying to be accepted and included that we never get around to having conversations over how to control and dominate markets. That's a conversation black people don't have. Most of our conversations is about reacting to racism, okay, debating outdated information and topics, dealing with religion and spirituality. We don't talk about how can black people corner certain products. How can we dominate the market for certain businesses? We don't have those conversations, but everybody else has those conversations. The Koreans didn't just wake up and take over the black hair care industry. The Koreans had a conversation about the black hair care industry. Black people need to start having conversations about how to dominate economic markets, because right now we are totally dead last in this country and in this world when it comes to economic empowerment, because we don't produce much. We have services, but we don't produce goods. And until we become producers, we're always going to be economic slaves, because those who consume are dependent on those who produce. So as long as we are consumers, we are at the mercy of those who produce the things that we need. We are literally sitting ducks in a white power structure that is bent on crushing the life out of black people. This is just the beginning right now. This is just the beginning. And after we spend all our money, we're about to spend all our money, and then when the new year rolls around, we're going to talk about what the president isn't doing for black people. We're going to spend all our money, and then Kwanzaa going to come around, and we're going to talk about how much we love being African after we just gave all our money to white folks. See, that's the contradiction of the Christmas Kwanzaa holiday season, because it reveals the schizophrenic personality of the American Negro. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, you empower white people financially with your black dollars. And then from Kwanzaa to New Year's, you talk about how proud you are to be an African. You put on your kente cloth, your African beads. Okay, but if you was that African, you would have used your Christmas money to empower black people. But yet and still, we keep on using our Christmas money to empower white people. We are a walking contradiction.
Right. Now, I mean, the next generation is doing good. Black people in America is about the fourth richest people in the world, but yet we're consumers. But the next generation is doing good. So how does the young brother take that street money and make it into legit money?
Well, we shouldn't confuse income with independence, because NBA athletes are rich. NBA athletes are not powerful. You see, NFL athletes are rich. NFL athletes are not powerful. If they were powerful, they would have stood with Colin Kaepernick. If the NBA athletes were powerful, LeBron James would have stood with the Milwaukee Bucks 2 seasons ago when they wanted to protest. So they have money, they don't have power. And too often we make the mistake of assuming that rich people are powerful people. Not at all. Power has nothing to do with income. Power is in the strength to control institutions and industries. We don't control institutions or industries. We don't have power. We have money. People with power are able to destroy the people with money when they don't do what they want them to do. We have one black owner in the NFL, Michael Jordan, who clearly is not loyal to black people. You don't have a black owner at all in the National Football League. There's no power there. We don't make the decisions. White people make the decisions for the NFL football players. White people make the decisions for the NBA players. There's no power. It's just a lot of money, Baba. And if you notice, they're only allowed to use their money the same way we use our money, and that is to have fun. NBA players don't use their money to empower. NFL players don't use their money to empower. I remember one time I had a ex-professional athlete had me on his podcast. And at the end of his podcast, I started talking about the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy and how I needed other athletes to come and support what I'm trying to do, build schools for black boys. And he promptly ended the conversation. In other words, as long as the conversation didn't have a goal, as long as the conversation didn't have a practical aspect, as long as the conversation did not evolve to one of execution and behavior, we were okay. But the minute I started talking about action steps that athletes can take to support the black liberation struggle, he got out the conversation. So our professionals are not powerful, Baba. They're not powerful.
Yeah, Michael used to donate money on the side. We don't have to put our rich people on blast that they give money and mess. I
don't believe we got to put them on blast, Baba. Nobody's asking them to be the front man. Nobody's asking them to be the front man. Most of our black celebrities donate to causes that are considered safe by white people. They're scared of white people, period. I've been around many of these celebrities. They are scared of white people. It doesn't matter if you don't give their name. That would be foolish to expose who they are. But they are scared of white people. They have gotten to where they are through the aid of whites. It doesn't matter how much talent they got. Whether you're LeBron James, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, they got where they got through assistance from white people, period. And they stay where they stay through the assistance of white people. And I don't want to single out the athletes and entertainers. And I'm only using those names because they're prominent. I'm not castigating LeBron, Oprah, or Jay-Z. They're just the more prominent ones, so I'm using them as an example, not with any particular intent. But here's the issue, Baba. I don't want to single out the celebrities. because they are no different than the rest of us. They're no different than the rest of us. And I would even beg the question, why are we asking celebrities to do what everyday black people have not done? To me, it is unfair to ask a billionaire to risk his billions when the ones on the bottom ain't even risking their hundreds and thousands. To me, it is not fair to ask Oprah. It is not fair to ask Jay-Z. It is not fair to ask LeBron to risk the comfort of their own families to help black people who won't do nothing to help themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, Baba, at the end of the day, we are $2 trillion people. We are richer than Jay-Z. We are richer than LeBron. We are richer than Oprah as a collective group. And we're not doing anything for ourselves. So why in the hell are we asking them to do what we don't even want to do? It is hypocrisy to ask Oprah to sacrifice millions when we won't even sacrifice hundreds. That's hypocrisy. We have to do the work first. And once we do the work, they will automatically get on board. They will have no choice. They will have no choice, but they have to see us sacrifice first. They have too much to lose. Too much to lose. They have to know that black people are serious before they get in the game.
All right, back to the children. What is the position, or what should the historical black colleges do to take the lead?
The historical black colleges, 3 things they need to do. And first of all, we got to keep in mind that half of the HBCUs are state institutions. So they are ran by the state. They are run by white people. So there's only so much there they can do. For the independent HBCUs, they have a little bit more freedom, but they have a bigger economic struggle because they are not funded by the state. But there's 3 things that I think all HBCUs should do. 3 things. Number 1, start an independent grade school to feed their institution. One of the biggest problems for HBCUs is retention. Retention. Getting students and keeping students. You know why? Because the PWIs are intensifying their recruitment of black students, not because they care about them, but they want the extra funding that comes from Joe Biden for showing that you're trying to be multicultural. So the way you fight that, the way the HBCU can fight the PWI stealing all the black high school graduates, is by having a school of your own that graduates students that come directly into your college. Every HBCU should have a high school. And the irony of that, Baba, is most HBCUs started as high schools. Most HBCUs started as high schools. So they need to go back to their roots and open up a high school. That's number 1. Number 2, every HBCU should have a farm. Every HBCU should have a farm. They should be growing crops and they should be raising animals that they can sell. Diet is a major problem in the black community. If diet is a major problem in the black community, the HBCUs, many of them have an agricultural program. You can sell your produce directly to the black community around the HBCU, because most of our people live in food deserts, Baba. There's research that shows that many black people in this country are 1 corner store away from hunger. 1 corner store away from hunger. Many black people don't even live within 10 miles of a real supermarket that sells real food. Most of our people are being raised on the Poppy shop, McDonald's, and the Chinese store. So all the HBCU needs to do is start a farm and a garden. And the 3rd thing that the HBCU needs to do is they need to start growing entrepreneurs in the community. They need to have an entrepreneurial program that takes black people from the immediate community, teach them how to open their business, finance their business, and the HBCU automatically gets a percentage of that business, which means the HBCU needs to open a bank. Every HBCU should have a bank. Every HBCU should have a school. Every HBCU, should have a farm and a garden. Those 3 things will pull any HBCU out of poverty. But the problem, Baba, many of our HBCU presidents, many of our HBCU board of directors are black bourgeoisies. They are Negro peons. I'm being honest, Baba. I done spoke at many HBCUs. I respect them, but they're bougie. They don't have the mind of a Booker T. Washington. They don't have a mind of a Dr. George Washington, Carver. They don't have a mind of a Mary McLeod Bethune. They're not those who founded those institutions. They are bougie Negroes who are comfortable living off the salary while the universities they lead go to hell.
Well, I mean, they brought in the W.E.B. Du Bois and the talented 10. So you can't blame them for that thinking, can you?
Sure you can, because W.E.B. Du Bois been dead for about 50 years now. So there's no excuse for us not to have corrected the wrongs or mistakes that any of our leaders have made. And of course, we support Dr. Du Bois for the good things that he done, but he was a bougie mixed race snob who thought he was better than other black people and felt because he had a degree from Harvard, he had a right to be a leader, until Marcus Garvey challenged that, and he tried to destroy Marcus Garvey because Marcus Garvey took away what he always wanted, the right to be a race leader. But be that as it may, Baba, we can't keep using the excuses of yesterday, because we are living here. We are breathing now, and we have to make decisions right now in this moment that's going to benefit us and our people.
Okay, last one then is, with all this stimulus money and these children tax credits and the amount of food stamps they're giving out, why are we continually spending that, or how do we build upon this stimulus fund?
Well, black people are not going to put their money in the same pot. Where we are allergic to intra-group organization and action. Black people hate working with black people more than anything else in the world. We would rather catch COVID. We would rather catch COVID and be surrounded by a bunch of white folks in a hospital on a ventilator for 3 weeks, running a risk of death. We would rather catch COVID, the Delta variant. We would rather have that, Baba, than have to work with black people. I'm telling you, there's nothing black people hate more than having to work with other black people. We are only integrationists when it comes to working with other people. When it comes to working with each other, we are totally segregationists. The Negro is a segregationist when he is amongst other Negroes. He can't wait to get away from black people. That's why we move into the suburbs. Even most of your hoteppers, most of your conscious people live in white suburbs. We do not like black people. We act like we do. No, we just use them. We use black people to get where we want to be, but we really want to be around white folks. That's why most black people are out there buying their daughters white doll babies. If you love black people so much, why are you buying your daughter white doll babies?
All right, I've got a problem, and this is my problem with me. We support the current Biden administration, but they still carry this thing about not allowing African people over here. Now, Europeans and Canadians can cross the border at any point in time, but Africans, Caribbeans, and Mexicans are stopped at the border. So my question is, how do we reach over to our brothers in Africa and unite with them, because you're a Garvey man, and help them bring their products here and help them get over here with visas and student visas?
Well, first of all, Baba, I take issue with your opening statement. And your opening statement was, we support Joe Biden. May I ask you, why do you support President Joe Biden?
I don't. I think that what he did, even I think he can support Obama. I think that they tricked us.
Oh, well, they didn't trick black folks. We cannot say they tricked us anymore. We can't even say Obama tricked us, because he didn't trick me. You see, black people's love of white people is so deep, Baba, that we will, hold on, let me finish this thought. We will subvert our common sense. We will subvert our intelligence, Baba. We are so in love with white people that we will turn off our brain. We will turn off the thinking mechanism so that we can indulge our integrationist fantasy and love affair with the European. We knew Barack Obama wasn't going to do nothing for black folks. We knew it. We knew Joe Biden wasn't going to do nothing for black folks. Why? Because you've been here for 400 years under the white man. And you've been here longer than that, okay, before the white man. But 400 years under the white man. 4 centuries, you cannot claim that you don't know better. Because the white power structure has been consistent in how they treat black folks. They have been consistent, Baba. They have never not done this. When have you known white folks to change their colors? They have never changed their color. So black folks ain't being tricked. We not being fooled. We not being bamboozled. We are willingly acting stupid. We are willingly surrendering our intelligence and common sense because we want to be accepted by white people. We don't want to be free. We don't want to be independent. We don't want liberation. We don't want black banks, black schools, black hospitals, black factories, black shipping. We don't want black families. We don't want black wives. We want to be accepted by white people. And for the right to be accepted by white people, we are willing to do anything under the sun, including risk genocide, because that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, you're true. All right, well, brother, I ain't gonna hold you up anymore. I appreciate you talking with me.
No problem.
I support you fully.
Appreciate you.
We'll get together sometime soon.
Yes, sir, Bobby. Appreciate you.
All right, brother.
All right. For children that have been labeled special ed, what steps, programs, and things in the curriculum will help? If you have a personal question for your child, text me. I can't do no generals. Snow Bunny crisis. Snow Bunny crisis. Snow Bunny crisis. Jamie. Peace, good brother. How's Raleigh, North Carolina?
It's fine. Get better every day.
Okay, what's going on with your child?
My child was born with autism, and he's 7 years old. He's been struggling in school. I don't feel like the school system has been helping him out, and I want to put him in a private school to give him individual help, but I can't afford that right now. I'm a single father trying to raise him, and daycare is on the weekends. It's trying to find someone to take care of him. That's tough enough. So I just need some help in figuring this out.
Okay, first of all, you said he's 7. He been classified with autism since what age?
Well, he got classified when he was about 4 years old. He wasn't talking. He didn't talk for. He didn't say his first words until he was about 4 and a half, and he struggles with communication, and yeah, that's what that is.
Okay. Classified with autism around 4. Didn't say his first words until about 4 and a half. He struggles with communication. Okay.
Yes.
Couple things. Number one, do you believe he's autistic? And the reason I'm asking you that, my brother, is because 4 years old is too young. Too young to definitively conclude that any child has autism. I'm an autism evaluator. I cannot definitively tell you your child is autistic at 4. I can tell you that your child has some autistic symptoms. I cannot definitively tell you that he's autistic, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's why I'm asking you, do you feel as father that your son is autistic? Because guess what? He could have a speech and language impairment. He could have a hearing impairment. He could have selective mutism. He could have social anxiety. He could have emotional trauma. I mean, there's a lot of issues that can look like autism that are not autism. So we got to be very careful before we start pushing that autism thing. So go ahead, your response.
What I believe is that my son is not necessarily autistic, what the school say he is, but I believe that he can overcome what most kids can't overcome, and I believe that this is not a long-term thing. I believe that if you work hard enough, you can overcome this and be a regular man. So I don't really believe that he's autistic, but yeah, like you said, he might be emotionally unstable or whatever,
Here's the other thing I want you to catch too, brother. If your child has an IEP, which your son does, I'm assuming he has an IEP for autism, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't want to take him out the school because special ed children have rights that regular ed children don't got. You want to make the school do right by your son. So what you might need is an independent educational evaluation to have an outside psychologist determine if they believe if your son is autistic or not. So you might need that. And then in addition, you might also need to have an IEP meeting and to question the program. Because if you don't believe he's learning, then that's a program issue that the IEP team has to address. Program meaning curriculum. Because the IEP is the disabled curriculum for the disabled child in the disabled area. So we need to get that addressed. Okay, program. And then if you don't like the school he's at or the classroom he's in, then you have a placement issue as well. You don't like the placement. Okay, and then progress. If you don't think he's benefiting, then we also have to talk about the progress that your son is making as well. So you got 3 potential issues there. But first of all, we need to really affirm whether or not your son is autistic at all. That's the first thing. Now, let me ask you this. When was he last evaluated? When is the last time your son had an evaluation?
He had an evaluation his last school year, around the beginning of that last, like, we're talking about, like, last August.
Okay, here's what I need you to do. Here's what I need you to do. And black parents as a whole, y'all got to get better with this. Y'all got to get better with this. You got to get better knowing the dates. Got to know your dates. So you need to find out, not the last IEP meeting, the last psychological evaluation. In the United States of America, children must be reevaluated. Children in special ed must be reevaluated every 3 years. Every 3 years. So if your son was classified as autistic at 4, he should have been reevaluated before he started kindergarten. And if he wasn't, he should have definitely been reevaluated at 7 because 7 is 3 years later than 4. So you need to you need to double check the last eval date to see whether or not your son is up for another evaluation at this time.
Yes, sir. I understand.
All right. But again, it begins with affirming that diagnosis, brother. You could have an IEP meeting and say, listen, I don't believe my son is really autistic. When is his next evaluation due? You could get that evaluation from the district, or you could say you disagree with it. You could have me take a look at it. Even if you find the original, my brother, you might want to have me take a look at it. I charge $75 for one-on-one consultations. But you can have me take a look at it, and I could tell you, this was not a good determination of autism. So see if you can find that original eval, and if he was evaluated since then, I want to see both evals so I can help you determine whether or not I believe, based on the formulation of the disability classification, whether or not I believe it was done right. And if I don't believe it was done right, you can get a second evaluation at district expense by a psychologist of your choice. That is the independent educational evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much. I will continue donating to your school. I appreciate everything that you're doing, sir.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right now, Black Power. Brothers and sisters, make sure you hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Make sure you hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. International Africans, hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. International Africans, hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy, or $FDMG School on PayPal. You could mail your check or money order payable to the FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. That information is also on my website, DrUmarJohnson.com. We still have a school that we need to build. We still have a school that we need to build, brothers and sisters. So make sure that you donate to FDMG. HVAC is coming. I'm waiting for the tech to tell me when we're going to put the HVAC on the roof. We are ready. The HVAC is in Delaware. We're ready to get the crane and lift it on up. HVAC is coming. Donate. Make sure you mark your calendar. Saturday, September the 10th, 2nd annual FDMG Festival, followed by the 1st annual Unapologetically African Awards.
Hello?
Peace and Pan-Africanism, my beautiful African sister. How's Chicago treating you?
It's cold up here, but it's not too bad.
All right. What's on your mind?
Thanks for calling me back. So, I was teaching in Inglewood, which is like one of the worst places. The neighborhood in Chicago is like where a lot of the shootings and killings and stuff like that be going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working with the students, and I literally quit my job after 2 weeks of coming back post-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It was a new school, but before that, it was tragic because there were like fights every day. The boys was fighting the girls, and the girls liked the boys beating them up. The administrators pressured the teachers to pass the kids, even the ones that didn't show up. I had kids that were boys that were threatening me, kicking at my door, trying to get at me because I called their mother because they were misbehaving or missing too much school, and other threats on my life, and where I had to make a police report, but still they were letting my class the next day. So when I came back this school year, it just got even worse. And I'm trying different types of methods to, engage the students in the learning and things like that. But they just didn't want to learn. It was just like chaotic. I was getting cussed out on a daily basis. It was to the point where I was like, you know what? F this. I didn't want to work there no more. And I feel like always when I get to the point where I don't want to do my job to the best of my ability, then it's time for me to look for a new career. And that's literally like what I'm doing. Like the kids literally ran me out of the school. Like it was maybe a few kids that wanted to learn. I tried to focus on those kids, but they couldn't even learn because the other kids were distracting them from learning. It was just like chaotic. And I feel bad because I felt like, you know what? I left the North Side schools where the kids were well-behaved, the white and Hispanic kids were well-behaved, did their work. I left that to come to the black schools so I can get back to my community. But trying to give back to my community ended up backfiring on me.
Chaos.
And I just want you to speak to that a little bit.
Okay, number one, have you thought about starting your own homeschool business?
That's what my kids were telling me. They was like, Mom, you should just start your own homeschool business, but I don't know how to get into that field because that's something I would definitely like to do because I would like to teach my son who's 8 years old. My daughter's about to graduate next month. She's graduating early. I got really, really smart kids. What
grade did you teach?
Do that. But go ahead.
What grade did you teach, Queen?
I was teaching high school, so freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors.
Okay.
It was horrible.
Okay. It's very easy to get into the homeschool business because most states, every state allows parents to homeschool. And so basically all the parent does is contract with you to homeschool their child for them. So you're not starting a grade school, you're starting a homeschool. Grade school is different. Grade school is when you have an actual school building and you're promoting children from grade to grade, through state standards. That's different. Now with the homeschool, you're doing something similar, but it's much less regulated because it's called a home school, which means it's being done by parents or someone who the parent has employed. And so you would just have to investigate the homeschool procedure for Chicago public schools as well as for the state of Illinois. But it's very simple to do. Get you an LLC, which is, you can get about
LLC?
Yes, limited liability corporation. That way nobody can sue you. Okay, for anything, doing your homeschool. So you're going to do everything through the LLC, in the name of the LLC versus your own name. So you will be protected from liability, because you got crazy folks out here. Somebody might try to sue you for something stupid. So that way you're protected. That's why it's called LLC, limited liability corporation. But it's very simple to homeschool, though. Very simple. Decide if you're going to do it in your home, or are you going to rent some space at a church, or are you going to rent a storefront? How many students can you handle?
I got a really nice home,
yeah.
basement.
And you don't, and you might decide you want to do grade school children or middle school children. I mean, you can stay with high school if you want, but you don't have to. Choose what's comfortable for you. But I'm telling you now, with the COVID and with everything that's going on in these schools, you will have, I don't know of a homeschool teacher who has trouble getting students. Most of them have more than they can handle, and many of them have had to turn students away. You will have no problem.
What do you recruit them from? Like Facebook, social media?
Yeah,
like
you could just
group or something. What?
Or you have, yes, that's one way. But then also you just put some flyers out. Take the flyers to the daycare centers, community center, black church. I'm telling you, you will not have trouble getting parents. And you're a licensed teacher, because you have people who have home schools who have never taught. They're not licensed or certified. You are. So that only adds to the demand that will be in Chicago for your homeschool. I'm telling you, it's very easy.
I never thought about that.
Very easy to do. I mean, it's very easy, especially now because there's a big need for it. There's a lot of parents who don't want their kids in Chicago public schools. They would much rather pay you to teach them.
Okay, and then my last thing, thank you for that advice. And my last thing is, so my son, we live in a mixed neighborhood because Chicago is just too bad. And to live on a nice side of Chicago, you got to be damn near rich. So we moved into a suburb right outside Chicago. It's mixed. It's about 20% black. So I'm one of those advocates where I'm like, you know what? I want my son to bring home a black woman. You know, I want him to marry a black woman. And there are, you know, black women out here. But my husband, who is biracial, he feels like, you know what, love is love, whoever he wants to marry, as long as she's a good woman, you know, that's what's important. And me and him literally like have arguments over this, because I'm like, no, he's going to be with a black woman. And he's like, no, he's going to be with whoever treats him good. And I'm like literally trying to talk to my son every day, like, love the black woman, protect the black woman, marry the black woman. I'm like reciting this to him every day, but I feel like because I don't have the support from his father, it's falling on deaf ears.
Okay, the father, which one of the father's parents are white?
His mother is black, his dad is Arab.
His mother is black and his dad is Arab. Okay.
Yes,
and
he was raised by his single black mother.
He was raised by a single black mother, and he is not partial to his son marrying a black woman. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Probably because his father is an Arab. In other words, he may feel, well, first of all, he was probably, even though he was raised by the mom, he was probably raised to be multicultural and colorblind. Is the Arab father a Muslim?
He doesn't know his father, and he's only dated black women all his life. Like, the black is of the black. Like,
I got you. But he doesn't mind if his son does not marry black.
Correct. And
okay.
We fight about this all the time. Like, literally, to
well,
the point where, you know, it's
yeah,
bad. And he's bad.
Well, that's probably because, are you and the father still together?
Yeah, that's my husband.
Okay. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Okay. I'm not sure what it was in his background that made him so liberated with regard to his son marrying outside of his race, but you won't be able to control it. But what you have to do is make sure your message to your son is consistent. That's all you can do. It's a shame that his father doesn't see the importance of black men staying loyal to our black women. But be that as it may, you can't control him, but you have to stay consistent in your message. That's all you can do. Do not
stay consistent, because I just recite those lines. I let him watch, you know, the Hidden Colors films that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try to, you know, put like positive images of black women out there for him, but I don't know. Like,
you need to also take him. You need to also take him around black men who have black wives. Like, he needs to see, and of course you're still with his father, so he sees that.
But his father's skin is like white skin.
I got you. Exactly. And that's why you need to take him around unapologetically black couples. Like, he needs to be around black men, obviously black men with obviously black wives, so he can see that. He needs to be exposed to black love so he can see that it does work. Because right now, our children are being indoctrinated by the media, by the government, away from black love. If you notice, all the commercials, all the new movies, the sitcoms, it's either same sex or it's interracial couple. You don't see black on black love in the media anymore. And because of that, you're going to have to show him real life black love by exposing him to black couples. You might take him over. You might have a girlfriend who's married to a black man. Y'all might go over there for dinner. You know what I mean? Y'all might go, you know, to an event that they have. You might go to a baby shower. You might go to engagement party, but you got to expose your son to black love so he can start wondering what it would be like to stay with his own black woman, because he's not getting that from his dad. And because you said his dad is light, his father might have a light skin supremacy issue where he worships color to some extent. I don't know, which could also help explain why he doesn't see the need for his son to marry a black woman, because he wants his grandkids to be yellow like him. Possible. It's possible. I hear you laughing. Is he a light-skinned supremacist? Is he a light-skinned supremacist? Is he a light-skinned supremacist, Queen?
I don't think he's a light-skinned supremacist.
Okay, cool. I'm glad he's not. But either way...
He likes chocolate. He loves chocolate.
Okay, that's good. Chocolate. But remember now. But let me clarify. There are white men who love chocolate, but they are still white supremacists.
That's true.
Don't confuse what someone likes versus what someone believes. There's white women who will sex black men all night because they love black sex, but they don't believe in black equality. They don't believe in black justice. They don't believe in black freedom. So just because a man likes a black woman doesn't mean he believes in the dignity of black people. So just make sure we don't...
I believe you. I think he is one of those, because whenever I talk about like black power stuff, he was like, why do you keep talking about this stuff all the time?
You see that? You see that? He got issues. And I think, even though he may have not known who his father was, it sounds to me that he might be a little bit more partial to the Arab blood than the African blood.
I think so too. Now that you just said it, I never thought about it that way. I just felt like, he's like, excuse me, I just woke up. He feels like, why do you always talk about like this, this black power stuff? And I'm like, because it's important. I said, these are our people. You know what I'm saying? It was like, look, we need to just worry about what goes on in this household and our family, and that's it. And I'm like, I was like blown by that. So I just watch it on my own. I listen to podcasts on my own. Like right now, he's downstairs, with his son. I'm up here on my phone listening to you on Instagram. So we do things separate. It's not together when it comes to the black community. He cares about his family and our family, but that's about it.
Understood, Queen. Understood. Your son is in what grade?
He's in 3rd grade.
Oh, he's a baby. Okay. He's a baby. I thought you was going to say he was in high school, because I was going to invite him to our next Black College and Consciousness tour, which we're going to be having this spring, but he's a little too young for that. But we will be having programs for black boys of all ages at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, and we would love to have him be a part of that too.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the advice that you gave me about homeschooling. I'm definitely about to look into that now, because I'm telling you, Chicago public schools is like ran by like corporate white people, and they doing damage to our kids. And not only just that, the kids are running off good teachers. They're running us off, literally.
It's really the system that's running y'all off, not the children. And I'm saying that, Queen, because children are products of their environment. If those schools were organized better, if they offered more relevant programs and subjects, if they were more supportive of the home and the teachers, those children will react a lot differently. Children respond to their environment. You change the environment and you change the behavior. You can take some of those same children, put them in a different school. Behavior would be totally different. So it's the system more so than the child. But at the same time, I recognize that a teacher can only take so much. And
right.
Black women teachers, you guys are often abused, exploited, overused, and ignored. So, for me, stepping away from the system for a while, opening up your own homeschool, that allows you to still give back, but also do so in a much more comfortable environment.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Umar, for your time.
No problem, Queen. Be blessed.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too now. All right.